I'm Sam Gilly, current Secretary of the Engineers and Architects of Hawaii. We invite you to watch our monthly series on Olelo, Channel 53. All programs are also available on YouTube channel Hawaii 1902. We encourage your direct participation in this community outreach, so please email us your comments and ideas at ehhawaii@gmail.com. Each month, a $50 award will be given for a selected comment or idea on current or past programs. January's Olelo Series program is from our December 3rd, 2021 EAH meeting and features proposals for renovation of the Queen Theater in Kaimuki. At this meeting, Bill Brizee from Architects Hawaii and past EAH president presented his proposals to renovate the long abandoned and derelict Queen Theater into a home for the Music Hall of Fame. Bill told us the theater's story, from a prime Kaimuki movie theater in the 40s and 50s to its decline to an X-rated theater, its abandonment by its owner, its current condition, the property assessment report, and 2 proposed renovation options. Next, I'll introduce our speaker, Bill Brizee. Mahalo. Okay, I'll introduce Bill. And actually, I don't know that much about Bill. My first memory of Bill actually is meeting him when we were working on the code for fire protection for residents. And I met him over in the fire department's new office building over on Queen Street. And so we were involved on supporting that. Sam Danaway was involved in that as well. But I know that he was the Chief Operating Officer at Architects Hawaii for a while, and they seem to move that executive position around. And so I noticed that his title now is a Principal Architect at Architects Hawaii. And I don't know how long he's been there, but he's been there as long as I've known him. And he's very active in AIA. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill. Bill, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Sam. I was CEO, Chief Executive Officer, served in that position till just after my wife passed away 10 years ago. After she passed away, I figured that life was really too short. What was I doing? And decided to let somebody else run the company. I haven't been CEO for 10 years. But I've been with the company for 26 years. It's a big majority of my life. What I want to start off with is a little background on the Queen Theater, and in particular, the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, because that's who I was working with on the Queen Theater. Corey will, bring that out. But 16 years ago, when Architects Hawaii celebrated their 60-year anniversary, we decided back then that we were going to be the first architect in Hawaii to commit to the 1% program. The 1% program is much like, attorneys have, where 1% of our man hours for the entire year go to do pro bono nonprofit type of work. And so we've done a number of different projects for that, including the Queen Theater. Our first project was the Salvation Army Family Treatment Center in Manoa was redone using that 1%. So it cost the Salvation Army nothing for professional fees. We got all of the consultants to donate. We got the contractor to donate man hours. We talked to suppliers to provide either steep discount or free materials. Our latest one that we did was the Pearl Haven. That's the treatment center for the females that are undergoing treatment for being sex trafficked in Hawaii. And about the same time, I was working on the international marketplace. Now, this isn't the one that was built, and I was working with a developer out of Scottsdale and convinced these guys that they needed to have the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame at the international marketplace. And they totally bought into that. They were willing to provide free space. They realized that that would be a significant draw to visitors and locals alike to, provide the opportunity to share the vision of the historic music trade in Hawaii. We got up to 50% design development, and the whole project died. But since then, I've been trying to find a place for the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. And I moved into Kaimoki about 9 years ago. And I always hated the fact that the Queen Theater was just sitting there derelict. So I approached the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame and asked them if they'd be interested, and had to meet with the board of directors and talk about the vision. And it's not my vision; it's really their vision. But their vision was a performing arts center where they could have live performing arts, where they could have a space for a museum. And so I did a little design for them. The theater was built much earlier than the retail in front of it. The retail you see in front of the building here used to be a pullout for dropping, people off to go to the movies. The retail in front was added much later. It's a Art Deco type building. It has a freestanding ticket booth out there, open air lobby. But is it the right place for the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame? I don't want to answer that, but it isn't an old building. It's along Waialae Avenue, which is close to Waikiki. We're trying to activate the streets along there. This would be a catalyst for additional development around there. And we thought this would be a big benefit to have, performing arts center in the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame there. Lots of issues. There's no parking. The parking lot behind the Queen Theater is actually under a long-term lease with the Bank of Hawaii. So there's no parking available, which is something we would have to deal with. But it would establish a Hawaiian cultural center in Kaimoki. There's a number of buses that go up and down Waialae Avenue now for tourists, so we're on the map, and we're just trying to spread the knowledge and appreciation of the Hawaiian music culture. The owner of the Queen Theater, his name is Narciso Yu, and he's kind of known as a recluse, and a little bit of history about the Queen Theater is that after Narciso bought it, he turned it into a X-rated theater, and he was known for that. He had a series of X-rated theaters throughout Honolulu, and this is the last one he owns. He was running the X-rated movies. Obviously, the residents of Kaimoki did not approve, and they were very vocal about that. And so one day, the police showed up, and they raided the theater and took all the movies and lots of other stuff. So Narciso was blaming the community, and he said, I'll show them. I'm just going to let the theater, rot and an eyesore. And that's exactly what he's done. There's been a number of different things that are going in there, including a plumbing supply house, auto parts, and other things. But the thing's been unoccupied probably for 20 years now. Basic program that they wanted, the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame wanted, was museum exhibition space. They wanted a theater, and they wanted a recording studio and a gift shop. We were working, talking about the use of the theater and how it could be used for performances by some of the local Hawaiian musicians, but also we were reaching out to some of the schools that are nearby, and would have offered them space to do some practicing, on a real stage if they didn't have it. Trying to figure out how to get others engaged in this as well. The one thing that the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame couldn't give me was any artifacts. You know how hard it is to design a museum when you don't have an artifact? Usually you design the museum around a specific artifact, and we don't have that. They don't have that. I asked them, don't you have a brother? Is this ukulele? Can't you get your hands on that? We could do something really cool with that. They said, well, we have the little plaques that we give to all of the inductees. So I said, okay, yeah, that's fine, but how's that going to draw people into the museum? We proceeded figuring that once this thing gets off the dime, that things will come together, which I think that they will. The recording studio allows local musicians to go and cut their own CDs in a professional manner. The existing theater for many years had a property manager there that used the projection room as a recording studio. They did both audio and video type recording there. This manager was the guy that let me into the theater with a complete team of consultants. We did a full-on PCA, property assessment report, and found out that the building really is in fabulous shape. There's a few spalling issues. There's the fact that somebody's gone in and taken all the copper wire out of the building, so there's no electricity. But basically, the bones are really good. There's been some leaking in the main theater, and parts of the ceiling have fallen down. But that's all asbestos-laden stuff, so we'd have to remove that anyway. Okay, so this is the existing building as it stands right now. As you can see, there's a foyer there with doors on it. Now, somebody added that after the fact and closed it off for whatever reason, but that's what they did. There's 4 retail spaces along Wailea Avenue. That corridor-looking thing between the retail and the auditorium is outside. The property manager that we were working with really wanted the theater to be built because there's a restaurant just to the left of this building. He was doing the restaurant at the time, and he wanted the restaurant to be able to serve meals into the theater. So it'd be kind of like a dinner theater. But as you can see, there's a very, very small lobby. There's 800 seats in that auditorium. And so not a lot here to work with as far as museum space, as the building exists. And second floor, that's the 2-story high theater. The theater actually does have a fly space in it. So it's a real theater. Could be performing arts or music. The only 2 real bathrooms are up on the second floor. And we have to deal with ADA issues, all that stuff. So these are some of our thoughts on things to be included in the museum. Is kind of a timeline of the history of Hawaiian music. That can be done in a number of different ways. The wall of honorees, which is always needed, and this isn't the types of plaques that they have on record. They're just paper and it's in a wood frame, but something like this, we would want to include in there, and artifacts of whatever they may be. Artifacts is a work in progress. So here's our thought on incorporating the museum with the theater. We reduced the theater to 300 seats, 240 to 300 seats. There's a level just to the right, it's flat, and that would be where you could have dining back there. That would be where, for dining, and then there's some box seats that are at the way top. So you could we're looking at opportunities of fundraising too. Like the stanchions for the seats, most of them are in very good shape. The seats aren't there, but the stanchions, we were planning on on reusing them, and we could sell the seats for $5,000, $10,000 a seat or whatever, and we could put somebody's name on the back of it. Trying to reuse as much as we could. You can see on the entry vestibule, we've taken out the vestibule that they put in there, and our intention is to turn this back to one of the original conditions of the photographs that we have. So that is still an outdoor vestibule, keeping the ticket booth where it is. Whether it's going to be selling tickets or doing something else, we don't know. And so what we're trying to do is you follow the red line around, is how somebody would walk around the museum part of it. You'd have display cases, you'd have stuff on the wall. Then you always have to exit out through the gift shop. And there was two ways, option one, option two. Option two was less expensive. What we're doing in option one is we're creating a 2-story space in the middle of the exhibition space where we couldn't do that in option one. And this is actually the space under the stage. There is actually 2 bathrooms down there. This was where they were doing dressing rooms originally. There are stairs that go directly up to the back of the stage, so you could get in and out without being seen from the audience. So this is a blow up of level 1 for option 1. You can see the little dashed line in the exhibition room where we're planning on taking out and creating that 2-level area and trying to take the museum upstairs as well. We had to install a little elevator up to the top there. There's an elevator there. So we've had to put in elevators and whatnot to, make this thing real. You can see the box seats there, the gift shop and everything else. Second level is going to be on the next slide. So this shows we reconfigured the bathroom. So now there's more of them. We've got the elevator up there so we can access bathrooms with a wheelchair. We had to put in exhibition, prep space, AV library. There's certain things that museums must have, including storage for archiving. That's all been included in here. I went to the original Country Music Hall of Fame, the Wyman Center. They had a recording studio there, and you could actually record on stage. So it was kind of fun. And then you pay for that. People can go to the Country Music Hall of Fame and pay to have their recordings done. So and around the open space, there's additional exhibits on there. So they trying to activate both floors. Okay, this is how we want it to look, is bring back the Queen Theater to one of the earlier designs that we have. We've been working with George Kua. I don't know if you know George. He's a member of the Hall of Fame and now in charge on the board of this project. They're trying to find a home for the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. Here's kind of the exhibit space. This is on the second floor. Try to introduce some, 2-story high exhibit space. As you can see, we have no artifacts, so we're just trying to make pretty pictures here. This is this would be the inside the theater. So we've got some dinner theater going on. We've got some seating going on. And again, that's a real stage back there. It's got the fly space that they have to work with. That's why it would work for some drama students at the Kalani High School or something like that. Trying to get work done, find out how to bring more people to this rather than just walk-ins to see the museum. So trying to get the community involved, and somebody on the board for the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, she's a harpist, so she wants to be able to play string music up there. There's all kinds of ideas, and my thought was when the theater is not in use, we start providing some exhibits inside the museum so that people walking through can not only look inside, get inside the theater, but also It's an extension of the display state for the theater, which we didn't show in this rendering. No, this was done back in 2017. So I've got a lot more ideas on this. Yeah, this is a gift shop. That's the collection space under the stage. The other one just goes back to showing the same thing, but it's for the less expensive one. Working on this project, I've met a lot of people and got introduced to Kylan Reese. I don't know if any of you know Kylan. He's got a organization called Pacific Strings. He actually does guitar and ukulele repair in Kailua. He has done some extensive research on Hawaiian music, and there's a story that we want to tell. And we're actually working with Kylan right now because he does have some artifacts. Kylan is saying, and I believe him, that country music, as it is today, started in Hawaii. The first steel guitar was made for King Kalakaua. I think it's Kalakaua. And the reason why they went with the steel guitar is because, when tourism started peaking up after World War II, they got such big crowds, but the musical instruments weren't loud enough so that everybody could enjoy the music. And so Fender then worked with King Kalakaua to come up with a new guitar that did its own amplification so that they could serve a lot more people, or a lot more people could hear it, larger audience. On one of his visits to Hawaii, Chet Atkins, Country Music Hall of Famer, listened to the steel guitar. And he took that back to Nashville. That was the start of country music as we know it today. That's really one of the stories we're trying to tell with this project. Now, and I know, back to the Queen Theater, he's not willing to put a dime into it. He wasn't willing to sign and commit to a lease. We had a meeting with him, and I met him one time and went through the same presentation with him. They really loved it. But he kept on saying, where are you going to get your money? We says, well, we're not going to put in any money into this unless we have a lease. And so I don't want a lease. I'm not going to give you a lease. And I says, well, you're not going to get somebody to put in $30 million into this building without a lease. So round and around. Haven't talked to him or seen him in like 3 years. His daughter, who's an attorney, just moved back to Hawaii to take care of her dad. And after Tommy Waters came up with his resolution to buy the Queen Theater for public good, she starts speaking up about, well, wait a minute, I'm going to take this over and do something with it, because she wants to bring it back to be a theater again. So far, I haven't been able to talk to her, but at the same time, we're trying to figure out how to get Narciso motivated. We had a real estate agent that I know, commercial real estate agent, who does a lot of work for Kamehameha Schools. She was helping us with creating a lease with the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. She suggested, well, let's put a fire under him and let's contact Kamehameha Schools to see if maybe they've got a place for the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. Kamehameha Schools is still working on it. I've had a couple meetings with them, but that would be in Kaka'ako, not in Kaimaki, and then the Queen Theater would go back to the daughter, and who knows what she's going to do with it. This is really about the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, not the Queen Theater, but nobody's seen this presentation except for Narciso and the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame Board of Directors. We're not sure what's going to happen with the Queen Theater. We're not sure what's going to happen with the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, but it's a kind of a work in progress. And, we're just anxious to get something happening on both of them. I've been trying to reach out to Narcisso's daughter to find out how we can be involved. And so far, I don't have her contact information. We told Narciso that one of the things we would accept is if we put $30 million into the building and turned it into a historic building, got it on the National Register, that what he could do is rent the building to the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame and then make a donation every month in the same amount until the $30 million is repaid. We discussed fundraising ideas because we don't, the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame doesn't have the money to pull this off. I thought fundraising, we just get Jack Johnson to call Bruno Mars. Bruno comes to Hawaii for a long weekend, filling the Aloha Stadium up with 3 or 4 concerts, and we have the 30 million right there. We're not there yet. We need to get a commitment either from Kamehameha Schools or from the Narcisso's daughter. That's about it.
Okay, it's 12:59. So I'm going to present Bill with his certificate of appreciation, which is this. So thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you, Sam.
We always hand this out to all of our speakers. I don't know which number of speech this is to EAH, but it's, I think, on the order of 4 or 5, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. All right, well, thank you all. It was fun doing this, and thank you for attending.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill, keep in touch.
Fantastic presentation, Bill. Thank you.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of yourself.
Enjoy Idaho.
Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo.
Engineers and architects of Hawaii welcome your comments on this program and any of our recent programs. We encourage your direct participation in this community outreach. So please email us your comments and ideas at eahawaii@gmail.com. Each month, a $50 award will be given for a selected comment or idea on current or past programs. Mahalo.